All right. Hi, I'm Kelly Nita, and I'm here with.
Kamaka Pili.
So let's get started with just some telling me about yourself and how you grew up.
Well, I grew up in a very local family, but growing up, I knew I was different from a young kid. But I also grew up in a family where I felt my dad and my brother were much more manly men, and you had to kind of put a face to reflect them as well. So I knew for the longest time, and I think I can only say it now that that's how I felt. Now looking back at it, that it was a struggle back then but I don't really understand. I don't think I understood what the struggle was. Now I can see why and what that struggle had become. Um, my journey has taken me a long way, and it's been a long time to accept myself to where I am now. When I was a kid, completely different set of confidence compared to what I have now, and it's just taken a lot of relationships, a lot of ups and downs to kind of be okay with who I am and understand who I am. Um, but it started off as a rough journey. But I would have to say that I was very fortunate that nonetheless my family and my parents in particular were very supportive, even though that they knew before I knew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question is like, how was your family in terms of were they accepting immediately?
It was, well, so when I finally came out, and I came out to my parents in 2013, I believe it was, 12 or 13. Um, and I was already graduated from college, I was already becoming somewhat of an adult at the time that I came out to them. And when I did, my mom is the first one I came out to, and she's like, "Oh, we already knew." So so what was all this other extra drama for? Um, when I came out to them, and my dad was the last person and the biggest struggle for me to come out to. Uh, they were all accepting. My dad wasn't happy with my lifestyle, and he made comments throughout that journey of his that I knew that he didn't like how I was living my life. But that wasn't to say that he ever disregarded me or he looked down upon me because of that. So in that sense, they were always accepting. Um, but only in recent years, they've accepted it to the point where I can have a little bit more conversation about being gay with them or make gay jokes and they'll laugh. Before I couldn't do that. It was kind of like super taboo. Uh, my mom, there was, when I first brought a boy home before, I think this was after I came out, but my mom wouldn't want to have the boy or men come over to stay with me because we were a Christian household. So the whole religious aspect has played a part. But up till now, it's become much better. But I would say that my journey is separate from my parents' journey, so they had a lot more a lot different obstacles to overcome compared to me. But I'm happy where we are now. So I mean, from that whole journey, we still have differences, but I think it's more understanding my side more now because I'm much more transparent and just respecting it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like everyone kind of is on their own journey with this, and some of us know to varying degrees where we stand, and some of us, like our parents might have known before us. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see how your parents kind of reacted to that.
And I know, I mean, on that point, I know there's a lot of people whose stories are much different than mine. And in comparison, I'm very fortunate to have the family system. I know people who are closeted to their family, but they're open to themselves, but they don't show that when they go home, or they're always putting up a wall. And I can see where I used to do that because I have much less concern and fear of what my family would say. Um, but I know people who are still struggling with that. So just because my journey, just like you said, we all have our own journeys. So just because it was easier for me, I cannot say that it's going to be an easy journey for everybody. But um, nonetheless, the challenges throughout that journey really help to build you as a person. And I remember watching this video, just scrolling through social media. Sir Ian McKellen, who played Magneto on X-Men. I didn't know, but he's completely gay in real life, and you can't really tell in his acting characters. But there was a quote that he had said that the moment that he came out, he had never regretted it, and he doesn't know anybody else who has ever regretted it. And then ever since I read that, I kind of just start thinking to myself, and those who that I know that are out, I don't know anybody who would have regretted coming out on themselves with their
Yeah.
family. And I can speak for myself. There was never a regret ever since then. There's such a relief of weight, but stress as well.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with, but also I imagine it's just a lot harder to keep that to yourself and not really be able to express who you truly are. So,
I think that would be the hardest part, and because at some point, if you're always putting on a character in whatever position you're put in or whatever scene, at some point you kind of don't know what else to do other than be who you are. You're tired of this facade. You're tired of a face. You're tired of the lie that you're living. And I think at first, in the beginning of your journey, that's kind of where we gravitate to. For me, it was a secret I told myself I would never tell my parents. It was to that point when I was a kid that I felt that they were, I wouldn't say they were homophobic, but it was more so I just felt my dad was like a manly man, and my brother reflected that. And for me, it was a challenge to accept that that wasn't who I was. But the more that I didn't see that as a making me any less than, I started to realize how just who I am and my sexuality plays a benefit in my life today. At least how I'm portrayed. I don't know if that's the best way to say. For example, my quirkiness that I would felt like was part of the you're being gay or you're soft or you're queer or whatever is used before. That's how I looked upon it. But my character, my quirkiness now, I don't think in terms of my career I would be able to be doing what I'm doing if it wasn't for my quirkiness, if it wasn't for the things that I was fearful about before. Part of that had to go back to my sexuality. Like, I wasn't such a manly man, but if I was that, I probably wouldn't be able to be fulfilling the positions in my jobs that I have now if I didn't have that character to me.
yeah. And speaking of your job, I think it's really important that we have, different voices, especially like LGBT and Hawaiian and just different types of voices representing us in the media, because when you are talking to just, straight, white, Christian, like the stereotypical American demographic, they have a different lens than you and I. And so I think it's really good and important, the work that you do. And so how do your coworkers feel about that?
Well, thank you for that. You gave me chicken skin. Well, my coworkers have been 100% supportive from what I know, unless they're talking stinky behind my back, which I'll find out one of these days. No, they've been 100% supportive, where I can make jokes openly and they all laugh with me. At first, when I first got this job, there was two things I told myself just to be safe, because in news media you have to come across as being neutral. So don't ever talk about politics and don't ever talk about religion. And that was kind of the two things that I feared from speaking about. But I've been in this job coming up to 8 years, and I've realized to some extent, I still don't know the full extent of my influence. I try not to think about it, but I've come to realize that I do have influence being a public figure. So with that being said, use it to the best of my ability. And I don't like to talk about politics at all. So I have my own positions, but I don't like to talk about that in public, let alone in private either. I just think politics is weird. But religion and my own sexuality, religion, I think myself accepting me with who I am and my journey in accepting my faith as a Christian kind of go side by side, because I think the only reason why I've become much more vocal of my sexuality is because I've been reading more about God and trying to find out what's the best way to live as a Christian, despite the fact that the Bible says being gay is a sin, which I've also come to realize that interpretation differs depending on who you speak to. So it's like a dog chasing its tail, where it's always going to be a conversation and an argument if you allow it to be one. So for me, it's like, you know what, I'm going to just stay in my space. God loves me, and I will have this conversation with him when that's my time to have a conversation with him face to face. But until then, I'm living the life that I feel like if every day my goal is just to live at peace. Putting on a fake face is not living at peace. You're always trying to give something, and that's adding stress, that's adding anxiety, that adds to depression. There's the list can go on and on. So if by learning about the Bible, for me, is about the peace Jesus has given us, that's my goal in life now. So all the fear of what everybody else may think of me just because I like guys, I'm not going to give that any of my attention because I would lose my peace if I focus on that. My goal is to be happy every day. So that's why I think as my faith and my journey with God grows, my confidence in myself grows as well. Because if you read the Bible, or as I'm reading, I hear this term, it's not how everybody else sees you. The only person that really matters in terms of their judgment is God. So I still have my own challenges when it comes to it because I'm a very sinful person when I look at the Bible. But when it comes to accepting who I am, I know that God loves me, and that's one of the contributing factors to why I'm okay with who I am now. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, that totally makes sense. Because, yeah, it really, at the end of the day, it's nobody's business but your own and your relationship to God. Like, that's all you. So, yeah.
And it all goes back to we all have our own journeys. So, I mean, some people too, I get the question, how can you be a Hawaiian and a Christian at the same time? Let alone how can you be a Christian and a gay man at the same time? There was all, with that being said and those questions being asked, I had an interview with this one old uncle from Molokai, and his response to the question, is it Molokai, Molokai? Because that's always a constant argument. Being from Molokai and this old school uncle, he pronounces it Molokai, but his answer to that question is, at the highest level, it's not an issue, so don't make it an issue. And once he said that, I'm like, that can be applied to so many different things. Well, your life is supposed to be between a man and a woman, and stop making it an issue. It's not an issue because, first of all, yeah, your focus is on somebody else's life, not yours, and that can be a conversation piece by itself. I'm also was a coach in paddling, and when you coach the paddlers, don't you look at another canoe, because the moment that you're in a race and you pay attention to another canoe, your canoe just lost a member. It's all about your focus, and I think when we're focusing on other people's lives, what's the point? It's don't make it an issue. So that's kind of, I don't know what you would call it now, if I kind of just like disregard other people's opinions or whatever, but to me it's like it's just not a problem anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Because, yeah, I also kind of struggle with feeling like I need to compare myself to others and look at like, oh, this person is already signed with this agency and they're already in this film and I'm the same age. Why can't I be like that? But my parents and therapists always tell me, like, we're all on our own life paths. We all have our different stories to tell. And, just because one person is doing X, Y, and Z, you don't know what kind of background they had, what kind of challenges they had to go through. So, yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective.
Oh, it'll continue. I mean, I'm 37 years old and I'm single, have no kids. And, I still, has always been a desire of mine and a dream. Being gay doesn't help that at all. If I probably was... I mean, I have classmates and friends who are the same age and have some friends who are on their fourth child, fifth, it seems like, and if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, would that have been my life? I don't know. But that then leads to a lot of questions left unanswered. For me, in my journey, believing in God kind of just answers that question, because it takes you to everything happens for a reason. I don't have any kids right now. I have a job that is it has a life of its own, it feels like at times, and I don't think I would be as flexible and as successful in this job if I had a family. So it just then it comes down to it's going to happen one day. If I really, really want it, God says He'll give it to me, and I have to believe that. Everything else would just be stress, which means I'm not at peace, which means I'm not enjoying the day. And again, that's how I try to look at it, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah. And luckily we live in a time and place where you can do not the traditional man, girl, like wife, husband, stereotypical nuclear family. Like there's adoption, there's IVF, there's all these different kinds of options. So.
Yeah, and that is, it kind of comes back to your perspective. I mean, adopting, when people say, well, you want to have your own kid, I want my own kid, I'm not gonna lie. And I had conversations with one of my best friends who she had offered to be a surrogate for me. So, just thinking of these things like, oh, that would be cool, or knowing that how many keiki are out there struggling with no family. That, if you put yourself out there and helping somebody else, there's always options. So with that, I just try not to think about it as much, because the more I ponder and think and what if and what could have been, to me, that adds stress and loses peace.
Yeah.
So a struggle for sure. And I tell that to people too when, for straight people, we all have our own struggles and we go through our own things, but from a gay person to a straight person, there's just some struggles you'll never understand. Um, so going back to my job, like if I can use this position to how many people are out there who are quiet, who's never come out, who has these stresses and depressions and issues and feels like they may have nobody to speak with or can relate with anybody. If I can put myself out there and be somewhat of a influence or a positive to somebody else, then that's why I've gotten okay with putting myself out there, because if anybody wants to bash me for that, first of all, it kind of reflects the kind of person that you are,
Yeah.
but also, oh well, because at least I'm helping somebody else. And to me, gives me chicken skin, and it makes me happier. And I felt like that's my way of being okay with who I am, or that's my journey that has helped me to be okay with who I am. I'm definitely not the same person in terms of accepting myself now compared to when I first started this job 8 years ago. So I give that credit to my job, but it's putting yourself in front of the camera, putting yourself out there, putting yourself out vulnerable for criticism. But through that journey, and I think it's a journey of any gay person, you use that criticism and those challenges and find a way, because it makes you a stronger person nonetheless. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. What was the hardest part about coming out for you?
Oh, the hole was too small. I'm just joking. um, the hardest part of coming out was really I wouldn't have never thought my parents would have disowned me. Uh, I think it was just the fear of the unknown. Because I wouldn't have, I don't think my parents would ever disown me. I don't think I've ever had that fear, but just being looked down upon, or when they say sometimes it's worse when you disappoint your parents than when you get them angry. And that's kind of like what it would feel like. Like I would disappoint them, and I don't know what that ricochet of that would be. And I think that was my biggest fear. Um, my friends and my peers, as I never had like a lot of friends that I've always engaged with. I've always been an introverted person. But it didn't really bother me so much if my friends found out. It was more so my family. The moment I came out to them when I was, 2013, I believe it was, I honestly, there's just this weight that you feel like you can breathe a little better. You feel like there's one less thing to worry about. And yeah, so I don't know what the biggest fear for me was, and I think it was just accepting that and knowing how to express it. Because one thing when I told my dad, the only thing he told me when I came out to him was, I don't want to see it, which I did not expect, because I didn't know what that conversation was going to be. He was the one I was fearful of the most. So when he told me that, and I already knew it, he doesn't like to see that kind of stuff. So I was not naturally a loud, flamboyant person in terms of, I guess, gay expression, if that's the right way to say it. So it was never to me, it was never like worried that I was going to disappoint my dad from that point. But I also just put myself like, this is, there's boundaries of how I express myself. But it's more so complimenting to my dad. I never was really okay with being very expressive. So how I am now, being more transparent, I talk about it. I'll be a little bit more flamboyant, but I'm still not that kind of person. What was the question?
Just what was your biggest fear?
Oh, fear, that's right. So I think, finding who I truly am after I came out, because even, I think that's one thing I was surprised with. The moment you come out, you still don't know who you are. It still takes you a long time, and I'm still on this journey, but it takes you a long time to figure out, okay, then who am I? How do I express myself? Where do I really fit in? And what was fake? I think sometimes you can live putting on a facade for so long, it turns out it feels like it's real, but it's not. So I think that was part of the fear too, is like, then who am I? And then where's my partner, kids, and all that kind of, I think all of that combined was my biggest fear. But I know others have much deeper fears than that, and much more fears than that.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you at least didn't have to worry about getting kicked out or anything.
Yeah, I never really felt that would have been a thing. But I think not knowing that was part of the fear. Like, I don't know if he's going to do that or not, but I just didn't feel like they would. Um, so in that sense, I was very fortunate because if I had an unsupportive family unit, my life would be so much different right now. And I don't know, I don't know how people who continue to live like that can do that for so long.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a happy place to be.
Yeah. That's why another reason why I think your work is so important, as like being an openly gay news reporter, is that it helps maybe some other people who aren't super understanding or supportive. They can see it and they realize like, oh, the person I watch on TV and get my news from, like, he's just like me, or he's just like my kid. Like, there's really nothing wrong with it. You're still able to do your job. Being gay doesn't stop you. Like, I think that's really strong.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't. It's just hard that when we're living in the age that we're living at, that we still deal with these kind of issues. I think in terms of division, when it comes to very livelihood things. I don't know what the best term is, but just to judge one person because of something to me has just always been like that's things that you read from a textbook. So the fact that we continue to, there are those who still judge like that, and according to that, it's just kind of like a wow factor to me. Like, wow, we still live like that. Which is why for me, I like to, I don't do too many things, or at least with too many different things, different organizations or people, like put myself out there consistent. I kind of just do my own thing. But at the same time, I'm contributing to the larger effort of normalizing, making things right. But I kind of just, I like to stay in my own little nook and cranny and do what comes natural to me.
Yeah. I think it's good. Yeah, everything about you seems like super natural and authentic, which I feel like that's really hard to find nowadays. So, yeah, because when we first met back in like May, I remember I was telling my parents, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna get to like meet him and everything, and I was like, oh, I don't even know what to expect. But then like just like walking over to the ballroom, it was like, oh, he's just a guy. We're just people. We're just talking.
I'm just somebody who got a job and is still needing to pay rent. So I have a job that gives me money to pay rent. No, yeah, and I think that's cool, and I appreciate that you say stuff like that, because it makes me. I don't like when people who. It's humbling when people look at me for my position and the job and everything, but I was always told, my dad was actually the first person, when we found out I got this job, the first thing he said is, don't forget where you came from. I'm like, I've never, so I think there's been a lot of things that I just naturally have done to kind of not make me any higher than I should be. So the fact that I have a position and I can kind of approach it as hopefully just like a normal person, that I'm hoping that only emphasizes the influence that I feel I can do by doing the things that I'm doing.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So bringing it back to being Hawaiian, how do Hawaiian cultural concepts such as mahu inform your work or your understanding of gender and sexuality?
I have no idea. I mean, okay, so we all kind of have that concept of mahu. Generally mahu, homosexual, anything that's not straight. But when I speak with people like Kumuhina and people in our community who are much knowledgeable about the cultural concept of mahu, when I talk to those who are knowledgeable, and I'll say, oh, I'm mahu, and they're like, no, you're not mahu. So I think when we look at that concept, there's the literal translation, and then what the roles that played, but then there's also like a local slang today. I think mahu today is more those who are much more feminine, and I don't know if that's the safe way to say it, but that's kind of how I always interpret it. To me, they're like, no, you're just a gay man. I'm like, okay, so that's kind of, you kind of look at it, that's kind of how we categorize today. In a cultural sense, there's so many different words, and I think they all reflect something different. And the most familiar, mahu and aikane. And aikane was a thing that men would be friendly with each other, and sexual stuff comes with that, I guess. But again, I'm very not knowledgeable to the extent, just very superficial. So when I look at it, I just see it as, I don't really claim that, oh, I'm practicing my culture by being mahu. That's not how I look at it. I just feel so I mean, with today, and there are those things that help to bring attention to this, the Kapai Mahu stones, we have other, the concept of Mahu is just becoming much more public in different, TVs and movies and stuff like that, but also in the community. So when there are things that come about LGBT, I don't mind putting myself into that in terms of a voice to talk about it. When it comes to stories like Kapai Mahu, I think I like to use it as a conversation piece without getting too deep in the cultural side because I'm not very knowledgeable about it. But I like to use it as a means of, it has been part of our culture, and I think hopefully teasing people with the hopes that we should all be doing a little bit more of our own homework to find out what Mahu means, what does Aikane mean, what is Kapai Mahu. I think that's kind of where I put it, where I feel my role is in the community and Mahu is bringing attention to it. I don't want to speak too much about it because I'm not confident in that, but I'm learning along the way too. So I think, I was actually part of this Mahu Council for a nonprofit organization, and I feel my role compared to the other people who are on that council was, you had those who had transitioned, then you had those who were queer, and then you had me who is a gay man who doesn't really know all the complexities of the lifestyle. I went to my first drag show. I started hosting the drag competition here for a few years, but the first year I was offered to do that, I knew nothing about drag. And even just, I have drag friends, but
it's its own world.
It's its own world. Like, am I okay to say drag queen? Like, is that an okay thing? So there's so much things. So I'm learning 100% along the way of what does it mean to be Mahu. It's just much more complex to just a normal Joe, because this is their life. There's like, I don't, it's their own livelihood. So there's so much more to it that I feel, if you don't mind me being a part of it, I like to learn. And then if I can be an influence of passing the message along, because I have somewhat of an influence and trust with the people, then I will use my position for that. But it's all about education. So for me, that's kind of what I'm using my position for, no matter what realm it is, but in LGBTQ as well, is about just bringing education to it.
Cool.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
I kind of went the long way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, we are all on our own journeys. So yeah, some people might align more with it. Some people, but I think it's cool that you're still trying to learn and do all that work. What advice would you give to young LGBTQ plus people in Hawaii who want to get involved in more of this activism and getting visibility for this?
Accept yourself. I think that's where it has to start from, because if you don't know who you truly are, or if you don't accept who you are, then everything that you're doing from that point is kind of questionable. Like, then why are you doing it? If you're telling somebody else to accept yourself and to wave the flag and do all of this, but you haven't accepted that for yourself, there's a disconnect in authenticity in it. So I feel, for me, I've only become, I feel my presence in this space has only become more because of my journey of self-acceptance. If I haven't been accepting myself anymore, I wouldn't be publicly speaking about it. I wouldn't be putting myself on social media. It all starts with me. So I would say, it's so easy to say, come out right now.
Yeah.
But we all know that's not easy at all. So I would just say, I would highly recommend and urge you to find a way of how you can accept yourself to the point where you can express that to somebody else. And that's the starting point, because everything else is then, it's not the journey of putting your face on, it's the journey of realizing who you are. Because again, once I came out, I'm still on this journey of realizing who I am. But then you can do good things along the way with it at the same time. But you need to start off with an authentic self first.
Yeah. So did you ever think that you were straight or bisexual even?
I think I'm still on that journey, to be completely honest. Because I would say, I don't know if I ever was straight. I think my first, I always joke around, but it's not really a joke, but my first crushes was Red Ranger and Pink Ranger, which was totally it was very confusing. So I don't know if I was ever straight, but I did go through a phase that I was just bi, and then I look at it now like maybe that was just my excuse of saying that I wasn't gay. Now I don't mind saying that I'm gay, but if I don't know, I'm not really. I'm more attracted to guys, but I don't see myself with a girl. But things could change, you know. So if maybe I don't know, you know. So
Mhm.
I know I never was straight. That's for sure.
All right.
The other two, I don't know. I think that's why when people, I've come across this when you say that, are you gay, are you bi? And then the response is, well, why does it matter? I mean, I don't look at labels. I didn't really get that, but I think now because I kind of like, I don't know. I, I kind of see where like the labels make things a little bit more confusing.
Yeah.
I would just say if they're straight or not straight. Gay is this whole realm of mahu, whatever that means. And I feel like I've always been in that realm, not knowing exactly where, but I'm in that realm.
Yeah, because when I was younger, I knew I liked girls before I knew I liked guys. When I was 7, I like had the fattest crush on Miley Cyrus, and I just didn't even really think about guys. But then, as I got a little older, I was like, okay, yeah, I like guys. Yeah, I'm straight, but straight. I was like, no, women are just pretty. They're just, I just like, gosh, that girl right there. I just don't care.
Oh wow.
But yeah, and then so I was like, okay, and then I started to accept like, okay, I'm bi. But then I started leaning more towards men, and I was like, well, am I even really bi? But then there is always like those girls out like, oh wait, no, I definitely I do like girls too. So yeah, I also think like labels sometimes can make it a little bit more confusing. That's why when people ask me now, I say like, yeah, I'm bi, just to make it easier for them. But realistically, I like people. I like hot people, and I like people with cool personalities.
Amen.
So,
And I think that's part of it. If you just live a little bit more fluid, you never know what to expect because you're keeping yourself open to this journey of life and kind of just go where the trade winds blow you,
yeah.
rather than setting yourself on one thing and that's my goal and a straight line. You know, it's much better when you have everything in the world that you're that you're offering.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
All right. Is there any other comments or concerns or questions you want to bring up?
No, I thank you for including me in this and asking my opinion. I know that I represent some type of men in but I'm realizing maybe more that those who are still questioning themselves, you know, and if this helps one person, then great. If not, then screw you. No, no, but I thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank
This
you.
has been great.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I learned and got some helpful stuff from this. So
Awesome.
you helped at least me.
All
So
right.
even if this doesn't help anyone else, selfishly, help me. So that's the main one.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Just joking.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mahalo.